Good morning. Today we are starting our next unit number 6. We are working with algebraic expressions in this unit. So CO32 is I can interpret and write algebraic expressions. So the terms that we need to know for this objective is the verbal model, is a word equation that represents a real world situation. So it's being able to take the word, what is being spoken about, and put it into a word equation. So translating phrases and sentences. First thing we have to know is what operation these words are telling us to do. To solve real-world problems, you need to translate verbal phrases and sentences into variable expressions and equations. You need to look for key words that indicate addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So when we are looking at this, when you're reading or you're hearing somebody say a problem out loud, you need to know what operation they're talking about. If they say plus, we know that's addition. The sum of something is addition. If it's increased by a certain amount, you're adding to it. The total means you're adding. More than and added to all mean that you need to add. Subtraction, all of these terms mean you need to subtract. Minus, finding the difference of two numbers, being decreased by a certain amount, fewer than, less than, and subtracted from. All mean you need to subtract. Multiplication would be times, finding the product, being multiplied by or saying twice, and also using the word of. When you say, what is 1/4 of 5, it means you're going to multiply it when you say of something. Division, we look here for the division, divided by the quotient of separated into equal parts. So if you're separating, you're dividing it out, you have to do division. So these are important words for you to know. You will see these words when you do word problems. You need to know how to read those words to figure out which operation you're doing. Order is important in subtraction and division expressions. For example, 2 less than a number is written as x minus 2, not 2 minus x. Because if our number is 5 and we want 2 less than it, we would say 5 minus 2 equals 3. If we said 2 minus 5, what would our answer be? Will W? Negative 3. Is 3 and negative 3 the same number? No, it's very different. So we need to make certain that we're writing out our subtraction and division the correct way, because we don't want to end up with a negative number when it's supposed to be positive. So it very much does matter. X minus 2 is not the same as 2 minus x. So same thing with dividing. A number divided by 5 would be x divided by 5. So if we did 25 is our number, divided by 5 equals 5. But if we say 5 divided by the number, that would actually equal 5 divided by 25, which is 1/5. 1/5 is not the same thing as 5. So the order that you write it makes a big difference as to what your answer is going to be. So you have to pay attention. Translating verbal phrases. So we have our verbal phrases, which goes with what? A number increased by 5. So if we're increasing that number by 5, what operation are we doing? If we say a number increased by 5, Zoe? We're doing what? Addition. So the number x increased by 5. 7 less than a number. What operation are we doing if we say less than, Tristan? Subtraction. Less than means we are subtracting. So 7 less than a number. So that means we have the number and we want 7 less than it. So x minus 7. So often I see people say 7 less than a number. Don't be fooled by that. 7 less than a number is very different than the number minus 7. If you want 7 less than a number, you need to take 7 away from our original number. So do not get fooled by just writing it in the order that we see it. You have to stop and think. If we are subtracting or dividing, what order do we need to write it in? 3 more than twice a number. So what is more than? 3 more than would be what, Will? 3 more than would be what, Will G? Addition. So we want 3 more than, and then twice a number is where that multiplication comes in, Will. So this sentence, this phrase had 2 operations to do in it. So we have an adding and we have a multiplying. So we're going to start with our order of operations. Remember, we want to multiply first because it said 3 more than twice a number. So we have twice our number, and then we're going to add 3 more to it. Would it be okay if we said 3 more than twice a number? Would that get us the same answer? So plug in a number for x and see if you get the same answer. If we said x equals 5, are we going to get the same answer if we say 2x plus 3 or 3 plus 2x? Do we get the same answer? Let's check and see. 2x plus 3 would be 2 times 5 plus 3. 2 times 5 is 10. Plus 3 gets us 13. So now let's do it the other way. 3 more than 2x. Order of operations, we multiply first. So 2 times 5 is 10. 3 plus 10 is 13. So when you add, it doesn't matter if you're adding first or adding second, because we have to multiply first no matter what. You multiply and then you go back to add. So if the adding is at the beginning or adding at the end or adding at the beginning, first we had to multiply. So either way you write it, it's going to get you the same answer. Remember, it's subtraction and division that we have to worry about that order. So if you have subtraction or division in your problem, it very much matters. 4 decreased by the quotient of a number. So we know decrease is subtracting. The quotient is dividing of the number and 7. So 4 decrease, so 4 minus that quotient of the number and 7. So we have to be very careful when we're dealing with subtracting and dividing. We know we're starting with 4, and we need to subtract out what that division problem is. The number and 7. So it's the number divided by 7. So now translating verbal sentences. Very similar to the verbal phrases. You're just writing out that expression with the equal sign. So let me move the paper up. 16 increased by a number is 27. When we see that word is, what does it mean? Brielle? Look at our sentence. 16 increased by a number is 27. So if it is 27, it means it equals 27. So 16 increased by a number. 16 increased by a number equals 27. The difference of a number of twice a number and 3 equals -4. Well, they have that word equals. We know that's where we put our equal sign. So the difference means subtracting twice a number. So that's twice the number. Subtracting 3 is going to equal -4. The product means we're multiplying 1/2 and a number. So if we're multiplying 1/2 and the number means equals 36. And -3 is equal. So -3 is equal to twice the sum of a number and 2. So we want 2 times the sum of the number and 2. So sometimes we're going to have to use parentheses. So if we have the number and 2, so that's sum, and then we needed to multiply it. We needed to find twice. If you're finding twice something, you're multiplying it by 2. So now we have our go at translating these phrases and sentences into our expressions and equations. So write as a variable expression or equation. So actually over here, I wrote expression by mistake. This should say equation. An equation has the equal sign. So the equation has an equal sign on it. So look at number 1. Write as a variable expression or equation. 14 added to a number. How would I write that, Zoe? So when it says a number, that's when we're using the letter because we don't know what the number is. Yeah. So you have to use a letter. So use a letter.
Yeah, I said, can I use any letter?
Oh, yes. Sorry, I thought you said number. Yes, you can use any letter.
X plus 14.
X plus 14, because it's 14 added to the number. So we have our number, and we're adding 14 to it. Very good. Look at number 2. 22 less than half of a number. What is that going to look like? Nick?
22 minus 1/2. Well, 22 over 1 minus 1/2.
Let's be very careful because it's saying 1/2 of a number. So how do we find half of a number? Half of. What does that word of mean?
Oh, means less than?
Nope. So if we look back up at that sheet, if we look under multiplication, we see the word of. So it means we're going to multiply. So half of a number, that means half times x. Then it says 22 less than half of x. So we need to find half of x, and then we subtract the 22 out. So remember with that subtraction and division, we don't want to say 22 minus half of the number, because we want 22 taken away from the half of a number. So be very careful how you set up your subtraction sentences. Subtraction and division. Number 3, 42 divided by a number equals 7. What would that look like? 42 divided by a number equals 7. Brielle? 42 divided by x equals 7. That one we can actually write out the way it's written. 42 divided by the number, oh, I put a 2. I meant to put an x. 42 divided by x, the number, equals 7. And number 4. 5 minus twice a number is 17. How would I write that, Kira?
2 times y minus 5 equals 17.
So 2y minus 5 equals 17. Is that what it's saying? 5 minus twice a number. Or did it say 5 less than twice a number? It's
5 less than.
No, it says 5 minus. So be careful when it says 5 minus. We want 5 minus twice that number. So not every time do we have to turn it around. So be really careful reading our sentence. 22 less than the number, you have to flip it. If it's less than, you flip it so you're subtracting on the other side. But when we say 5 minus twice the number, we want 5 minus the 2y equals 17. So sometimes you write it exactly the way it's written. Sometimes you have to switch around where you're subtracting or dividing. So you have to be careful and really think it through. What I like to do is plug in a number for that variable and see if it makes sense. So if it's 5 minus twice a number equals 17, is 17, I could say, oh, that makes it a little trickier because I actually have to come up with the actual. So that would be, yeah, you actually have to do the math for that, which is a little bit trickier because we haven't gone through how to solve it yet. So just be careful when you are putting in your word sentence and making it into that equation. Go slow and make sure that you're following it correctly. Our assignment for today is our workbook page 8384. Page 8384. So we have time to work on it in class. If you have questions or want me to check it, bring it up to me. My friends at home, I hope you are doing well and feeling okay, and we hope to see you soon.